The 7 levels of car modding explained. Level 1, air freshener and seat covers. This is where it all begins. Forget turbos, forget wide body kits. This is the entry exam every new driver takes the moment they get their keys. We're talking about air fresheners, seat covers, steering wheel wraps, and maybe a pair of fuzzy dice if you're feeling extra bold. And here's the truth. None of this does anything for your car's performance. Your horsepower remains exactly the same, 0. But it makes you feel like you've personalized your ride, and that's what matters at this stage. Take the little pine tree air fresheners. They're everywhere. Millions sold every year, dangling from mirrors, losing their smell after about a week, but still hanging there 6 months later because, hey, it's part of the car's identity now. Or those neon-colored seat covers that you buy from a supermarket, thinking they'll make your Civic look sporty. In reality, they fit so badly they slide around like a loose t-shirt. But for a brand new driver, that's prestige. And then you've got the LED interior light kits, the ones you plug into the cigarette lighter and control with your phone. They flash, they pulse, they make your car look like a rave on wheels. At this level, the inside of the car becomes a personality project. It doesn't matter if your bumper is hanging off with duct tape, as long as your footwell is glowing blue, you're living the dream. The best part? Everyone's been here. Even the guys running 1000 horsepower builds today once started with a cherry scent air freshener or a cheap wheel cover that left their hands sweaty. It's universal. Level 2, basic stickers and decals. Now, this is the level where people start to get bold. The seat covers and air fresheners were harmless, but now you're stepping into the world of stickers, decals, and vinyls, the tattoos of car culture. And let's be clear, this is the level where people get roasted the most. You've definitely seen it before. The guy with a Toyota Corolla covered in racing stripes, flame decals, and the giant NOS Energy logo slapped across the windshield. Does his car actually have nitrous? Of course not. But in his mind, the sticker alone adds 10 horsepower. It's the oldest joke in the community. Stickers equals free speed. The truth? Stickers don't make your car faster. They just make it look like you're trying too hard. But here's the thing. Decals are more than just cosmetic nonsense. They're a way of signaling what camp you belong to. JDM guys cover their cars with Japanese logos and kanji characters. Muscle car owners throw on racing stripes and flag decals. Eurofans slap on Illest, Stance Nation, or Hella Flush logos to prove they belong. Stickers are like flags at a battlefield. They tell everyone what side you're fighting for. Of course, then there are the wild ones. Anime-wrapped cars, giant cartoon characters plastered across the hood, or chrome wraps that make the car look like a spaceship. This is where vinyl wrapping comes in, the evolution of stickers. Unlike cheap decals, wraps can completely change a car's identity. You can turn a beat-up sedan into a bright chrome eyesore that blinds everyone on the road. And wraps have exploded in popularity because they're cheaper than repainting, reversible, and endlessly customizable. Sometimes it works. A clean vinyl wrap can look incredible. Other times, it backfires, and you end up looking like you let a 12-year-old design your ride with a pack of stickers from the dollar store. Level 3, aftermarket rims and stunts. Now forget about stickers and fuzzy dice. Rims are the first real money drop in car culture. Stock wheels are like the factory sneakers your car came with. They do the job, but they don't say anything about you. Swap them for some aftermarket alloys and suddenly your car has a personality. Whether it's lightweight racing rims, polished chrome spinners, or deep dish JDM wheels, rims are a statement. People notice them before they notice almost any other mod. But here's where the culture splits. On one side, you've got the performance crowd. These guys go for forged alloys or lightweight wheels to cut rotational mass, improve handling, and give their car a sharper edge. On the other side, you've got the show crowd. These are the people who put 24-inch chrome wheels on SUVs or candy-colored rims that blind you in the sun. They're not worried about handling, they want to flex. Both are valid in their own way, but they live in completely different worlds. And then there's stance culture, the ultimate looks-over-function modding scene. People slam their cars on coilovers, camber the wheels so far inward it looks like the suspension broke, and scrape over every speed bump in the city. Stanced cars look like they're suffering, but for some enthusiasts, that suffering is the art. It's about making the car sit just right, about pulling off that wheel tucked into fender aesthetic that gets respect at shows. Sure, it drives like garbage, tires wear out faster, and sometimes you literally can't make it up a driveway, but that's the sacrifice. Rims and stance are the turning point because this is the first time you can't hide your modding. Air fresheners live inside the cabin, stickers can be peeled off in 5 minutes, but new wheels? Dropping your suspension. Everyone sees it the moment you pull up. It's public, a signal that you've graduated from the beginner class. Level 4, exhaust, lights, and audio systems. These are the mods that turn your ride from just another car into a rolling announcement. At this point, you don't even need to be seen. People will hear you 3 blocks away. Let's start with the exhaust. The first thing people usually do is a muffler delete. It doesn't add much power, but suddenly your Honda Civic sounds like it's trying to win Le Mans. Then you get into aftermarket catbacks, straight pipes, or performance systems that actually do improve airflow and free up horsepower. Real talk though, most people are chasing sound, not speed. Crackles, pops, and that deep growl when you hit the gas pedal. Some tuners even program burble tunes into their ECUs just so the car sounds aggressive when it downshifts. It's all about intimidation and attention. Now, lights. This is where things get wild. Underglow kits, straight out of Fast and Furious, still haven't died. Neon tubes, LEDs, color-changing strips that make your car look like a spaceship hovering down the street. Then you've got HID and LED swaps that replace boring factory halogens with retina-melting white or blue beams. Some even add strobe lights, angel eyes, or off-road light bars that can blind half a neighborhood. At this level, your car not only performs but also glows. And if that wasn't enough, let's not forget the audio scene. Giant subwoofers in the trunk that rattle the windows of every house you pass. Whole sound systems built to flex, not for clarity, but for sheer chest-thumping bass. In the late 90s and 2000s, SPL competitions, sound pressure level contests, literally measured whose car could hit the highest decibels. People were blowing out their own windshields from the bass. That culture is still alive today in some corners. Of course, there's a catch. Neighbors hate this level. Police hate this level. You can't sneak home at 2 a.m. when your exhaust is screaming like thunder and your underglow makes you look like a moving arcade cabinet. But that's part of the appeal. This stage is about being noticed. Loud pipes save lives, they say. Maybe. But loud pipes definitely get you noticed, for better or worse. Level 5, full tune and body kit. This is the point where owners go all in with ECU tunes and body kits. It's no longer about accessories, we now get into changing how the car looks, feels, and performs. Let's start with tuning. Modern cars are run by computers, and reprogramming the ECU can unlock serious horsepower. A stock Volkswagen Golf GTI with a simple Stage 1 tune can jump from around 220 horsepower to over 260. BMWs, Audis, Subarus, they all hide untapped power waiting to be unleashed by the right software. And then there's dyno tuning, where the car is strapped to rollers, the engine is tweaked live, and you squeeze out every last bit of performance. At this level, the car doesn't just sound different, it drives different. Then there are body kits, wide body conversions, aggressive bumpers, carbon fiber hoods, and giant spoilers that could double as picnic tables. A clean kit can make a regular car look like a supercar, while a bad one can make it look like a knockoff toy. But that's the gamble. Body kits are bold. They scream for attention, whether good or bad. Think of Rocket Bunny kits in the JDM world, Liberty Walk in the supercar scene, or classic Veilside kits from the Fast and Furious days. These builds dominate car meets. Of course, there's risk. ECU tunes void warranties, wide body kits require cutting into factory fenders, and not every kit actually improves performance, some are just for looks. But for people at level 5, that doesn't matter. The goal is transformation. Your Civic doesn't just look like a Civic anymore, it's something else entirely. It's flashy, it's risky, it's expensive, and it's the point of no return. Level 6, engine swaps and turbo builds. This is where engines get ripped out, turbos get bolted on, and cars are rebuilt into something their manufacturers never dreamed of. It's expensive, technical, and it's the level where you separate casual enthusiasts from the true gearheads. Let's start with engine swaps. This is the purest form of disrespect to a factory build. You don't like the power your car came with? Fine. Rip the heart out and replace it. Honda Civics get legendary 2JZ engines from Toyota Supras. Mazda Miatas get LSV8 swaps, turning lightweight roadsters into drag strip killers. Nissan 240SX owners drop in SR20DET motors from Japan. The combinations are endless and the creativity is part of the culture. A swap changes the car's entire identity. Then you have forced induction builds. Turbochargers and superchargers are the weapons of choice here. Bolt a turbo onto a modest 4-cylinder and suddenly you're pushing double or even triple the stock power. Add nitrous oxide into the mix and you're talking short bursts of insane acceleration that can embarrass cars worth 10 times more. Real-world example? A well-built turbo Honda Civic can destroy supercars on a straight line, and that's not exaggeration. Countless drag race videos prove it. Of course, all this power comes at a price. Build it wrong and engines blow. Push too much boost and you'll be rebuilding more often than driving. That's why serious builds at this level demand supporting mods, bigger brakes, stiffer suspension, stronger transmissions. It's not optional. You can't just throw 600 horsepower into a car and expect it to behave. Without the upgrades, you'll end up with a rocket that can't stop or turn. And that's the beauty of level 6. It's no longer about looking good at a meet or sounding cool at a stoplight. It's about engineering, problem solving, and straight up insanity. These are the Frankenstein cars, half original, half invention. They're unreliable daily drivers, money pits for sure, but when they work, they're untouchable. Level 7, full custom show car/track monster. At this level, daily driving is over. These builds live on trailers, in garages, and at events. Let's start with show cars. This is the world of SEMA builds, insane custom projects where money, creativity, and craftsmanship collide. Full chrome paint jobs, hydraulics that make the car dance, themed interiors with custom stitching, even builds that turn a car into a movie replica. Every part is either polished, painted, or replaced with something one of a kind. These cars exist to shock people at shows, win awards, and go viral online. They're not meant to survive potholes or grocery runs, they're meant to stop you in your tracks. On the other side, you've got the track monsters. These are cars gutted to the bone, stripped interiors, roll cages, racing harnesses, slick tires, and engines tuned to the absolute limit. Comfort is gone. Air conditioning? Gone. Back seats? Forget it. These cars exist for one thing only: speed. Whether it's drag strips, time attack laps, or drifting competitions, track monsters are designed to push physics until something breaks. At this level, even the small details are obsessive. Custom suspension setups, wind tunnel tested aero kits, carbon fiber everything. In drifting, cars are rebuilt for perfect sideways balance. In drag racing, cars are tuned to launch like rockets. In show builds, even the bolts are painted to match the theme. The devotion is total. And the price? Astronomical. These projects cost tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars. But that's the point. Level 7 is about passion at its most extreme. These cars are the trophies, the legends, the ones that other modders gather around at meets like pilgrims at a shrine. Level 7 is the Mourinho of car modding. You can argue about taste, about whether it's too much, about whether it even counts as a car anymore, but you can't deny the results. Show cars dominate attention, track monsters dominate competition. This is the endgame. Once you're here, there's no going back. And that's it. Now to you, if you had to start modding today, which level would you jump to straight away? Comment down below. As you leave a like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more amazing videos like this one.